Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Learning. We are now going to be calling these episodes Sean Academy. So welcome to episode of Sean Academy. Today we're going to be learning about the circumference. So what that is, the circumference, it's the distance that goes around the outside of the circle. So this distance that goes all the way around the outside. Okay, and what we do to find the circumference is you take the diameter. So this distance that goes all the way across through the center. And what we find is that no matter what circle we have, the diameter, if you take the diameter and multiply it by this number pi, 3.14, you always get the circumference, which is the distance around the outside. So no matter what circle you have, you take the diameter and you multiply it by this special number, pi, which we're just going to shorten and call it 3.14, you get the circumference, this distance around the outside. So say this diameter here is, let's say it's 15 centimeters. Let's say this distance all the way across is 15 centimeters. So if we want to find the circumference, what you do is you basically just plug it into this formula. Circumference equals diameter times pi. So we shorten that sometimes to C equals D for diameter times pi. Okay, so C is circumference, D is diameter, and pi is this number 3.14. Okay, so if we want to find the circumference, we know here that the diameter is 15 centimeters. So we write that in, 15 centimeters. Times pi, and pi is just this number, 3.14. Okay, so now get our calculator. And we do 15 times 3.14, and there's our answer, 47.1. 47.1 centimeters. So that means this distance all the way around the outside of the circle is 47.1 centimeters. And we know that because there is always this relationship between the diameter of a circle and the distance around the outside. And it's this special number that I already mentioned, pi. Okay, so pay attention because we're going to be using that number pi a lot when we're calculating things about circles. Okay, so whatever we do, take the diameter, multiply it by this number pi, 3.14, and that gives you the distance around the outside. Okay, well, let's try another example. So, say I have a circle here, and its radius is 5 meters. Okay, and again, I'm asked to find the circumference. Okay, so we know from up here, circumference equals diameter times pi, that number, 3.14, okay? And what I have so far is the radius. I don't have the diameter yet. So what I need to do is I first need to turn this into a diameter. So you'll remember from last week, if my radius is 5 meters, well then that means my diameter is just all the way across, so 5 plus 5, or 2 times 5, my diameter is 10 meters. Okay, so here's the number that I'm looking for. I first need to find out what the diameter is before I calculate the circumference. But now that I have the diameter, I can easily do it. So circumference equals diameter times pi. So the circumference is going to be the diameter that I just found out, 10 meters, times, again, pi, which is that number, 3.14. Okay, so again, get out my calculator. 10 times 3.14, and there's my circumference, 31.4 meters. That's the distance. So here we go, this circle, 5 meter radius, 10 meter diameter, means it's 31.4 meters around the outside. Okay, now so here it says a minute hand on a clock is 32 centimeters. How far does the hand travel in an hour? Well, what the heck? What's going on there? Well, let's draw it out and see what we're talking about. So if we have a clock it has a minute hand, which is the big one, that goes all the way to the edge. Well, in an hour, this minute hand is going to go all the way around the outside of the clock. So we want to know, how far is this distance that goes around the outside of the clock? What is that distance that goes around the outside? That is the circumference. So it's asking us how far the minute hand is going to travel. What is the circumference around that circle? So what are we given here? Well, this distance is from the middle to the outside. That is the radius. So the radius is 32 centimeters. What I need to find out is be able to find out the circumference. To find the circumference, I have to take my diameter and multiply it by pi. C equals d times pi. So this isn't the diameter yet. So first what I need to do, I need to figure out if the radius is 32, what is the diameter going to be? Well, again, we remember from before, if I have the radius that's 32, to find the diameter, I just times that by 2. So 32 times 2. My radius is 32 centimeters. My diameter is going to be, D for diameter, is going to be 64 centimeters. Okay, now I have my diameter. Now I can just plug that into my formula here. So to find the circumference, I take my diameter, 64 centimeters, and times it by pi, 3.14. Okay, so 64 centimeters times 3.14 equals 200.96 centimeters. 200.96 centimeters, and there's my answer. So if I have a minute hand that's 30 centimeters going across here, that minute hand is going to travel 200.96 centimeters to go all the way around the clock in an hour. Okay, so that's our lessons for today. Hopefully that makes some sense. Again, we're going to continue practicing throughout the week, so if it's still not totally clear, don't panic because we'll continue to practice. Okay, good luck with today's assignments, guys. And just one more thing, guys, I put together this formula sheet that you can see if you look in one of the attachments on the assignment. And what this is basically just a quick sheet that you can come to look at for all the different equations that you need to know for answering the problems that we have. We'll keep adding to this as we learn new things about circles, but for now, basically here's the ones for finding diameter and radius. So here, if we have the radius, but we don't know the diameters, then all you do is just 2 times the radius, and that gets us the diameter. So D equals 2 times R. Or over here, if we know the diameter and we don't know the radius, then all we do is diameter divided by 2, or R equals D divided by 2. And then here's what we're working on today. So we're looking at finding the circumference, and basically all you do to find that is just diameter times this number pi. And this is something we learned about today. I don't know if I told you exactly, but this is the symbol for pi. Okay, it's sometimes also just written as pi for pi, and what that is 3.14. Okay, so to find the circumference, you do the diameter times pi, or C equals D times 3.14. And then here's the circumference formula for if we have the radius. So if you're given the radius, well, you have to times that by 2 to turn it into a diameter. So all it's going to be is just circumference equals 2 times the radius times 3.14. So for today's assignments, really all you're doing is you're just doing this equation again and again. Circumference equals diameter times 3.14, but just really pay careful attention to whether the question is giving you a radius or a diameter. If it's a diameter, then you can just times it by 3.14, but if they give you a radius, make sure you first have to times that radius by 2 to turn it into a diameter, then times that by 3.14. Okay, so that's the just thing that you need to pay attention to, because that can be a little bit tricky just as we're figuring this out. Good luck today.